Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for making time to join us. So, this is going to be a fireside chat. So, the format's going to be a bit more conversational. And what we're going to talk about is recent changes and upcoming direction. So, buckle up and let's jump in. Um, I'm joined today by Zachary, who is going to officially be moving into a new role at Blocksense, and Magnus, Blocksense CEO. So this is a big update for the community. There's leadership changes. The Litepaper is out, as some of you might be on top of this already, as well as there's a roadmap update. So we've collected questions beforehand. Everything that we collected was primarily from the Discord community chat. So we'll be going through these, but then we'll also take comments and other questions from the chat as long as we have some time to fit these in. So, Zahari, starting with you, I would love for you to share your perspective on the new title, share more about the new title with the community, and how this aligns with the plans at Blocksense.
Well, I mean, in a sense, there's a new formal title, but kind of my day-to-day activities are not changing that much. Up until now, my goal was always to figure out what is the best way to evolve the Blocksense protocol, so we can have a network that can address as many use cases as possible in the future. And in the last kind of few months, I've been focused on the Litepaper, and basically this new role would allow me to keep this focus as the implementation team is progressing towards implementing the ideas of the Litepaper. Like they need a steward, somebody who is much more hands-on and would guide them through the kind of journey of implementing the ideas in the Litepaper. And I have a deep technical background, so this is the role that I feel most comfortable in. And Magnus kind of stepped up to address some of the other needs of the business that I had to do up until now, such as kind of fundraising, representing us in front of the world at conferences and so on and so forth. And also setting kind of strategic decisions for the company as well.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that it was meeting Zachary that got me into it convinced me and it got me excited enough to switch into the space. It's been a baptism by fire, learning everything about the space, meeting people. It's been very exciting, but Zahari is really a big technical mind, and I admire his mind. So I'm really excited that he is moving into this position because this aligns well with the objectives of the business. Magnus, please introduce yourself in this new role and give us a perspective on the leadership structure, vision, and more about this new chapter of Blocksense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Zahara said, not a lot is changing in terms of the team structure, but I think two things here mainly. So we, with the ambition and the vision that has been set out in the Litepaper, we need Zahari very much like hands-on with the engineers and hands-on in the role of kind of specifying the requirements of the network as we go forward. So I'm really happy that he's going to have more time on that, because he can add a lot of value for us as a company there and for us as a team. At the same time, the complexity of the business is growing, and as that grows, we need to have the structure in place to have people in the team supported on that journey. And so one of the things that I'm working on in the new role is to kind of bring that structure internally. Externally, we've talked about the fundraise takes a lot of bandwidth and a lot of time, which is time that could be spent building. And I'm happy to be able to take that burden and the kind of burden of going around to all these various conferences around the world and talking to both like protocols and investors and understanding the needs of the customer firsthand. So I still view a lot of what I'm doing also kind of similar to what I was doing before, in terms of developing the kind of product strategy through talking directly to customers and understanding like the market. And in a sense, like I'm moving more front of house, and Zahar is moving more into the kitchen. And we're both kind of I think both in both terms of kind of leverages our strengths respectively. So yeah, pretty excited about this new structure.
Thanks, Magnus. I think I'm actually curious to see, can you guys comment how many of you have seen the Litepaper in the chat? Me, okay, hey, facts. Of course, you're on top of it.
No surprises there.
So as people are responding, there's a lot of concepts in this Litepaper. We're talking about solving the connectivity barrier with the ZK shelling point. We're talking about the throughput barrier with the boundless throughput engine, and then positioning Blocksense. I think the biggest keyword is a universal verification layer for the autonomous economy. Before we dive into community questions, Zachary, can you TLDR the main concepts? So in case someone hasn't picked up the Litepaper, this would help as we go through the community questions, because I know people have been going through the doc and poking around. So could you give us a summary of the main ideas?
I mean, that's a challenging task. Well, I just said there are many ideas. But okay, I guess the key ideas is that in order for blockchains to be kind of relevant in the real world, like they need to be able to very actively communicate with the real world. And the answer of the industry so far has been oracles. But oracles, in the way they are currently implemented, kind of don't meet a lot of the original kind of blockchain ethos. They're still kind of centralized players, which kind of control the flow of information. It's not very easy for somebody who has a new and novel idea, or say a new dApp that leverages some real world data. There's no easy way to bring the data that you need on chain by yourself. You have to find an Oracle partner, and usually this is a slow process. It's maybe very expensive. There's a lot of politics involved, and we want to solve this with a technical solution that basically allows anybody to bring new data on chain and completely permissionlessly. So that's one big innovation. How do you bring data on chain? We have a breakthrough ZK sharing coin protocol that actually makes this possible. The other very interesting innovation, as you said, is something that limits, I think, blockchain adoptions in the real world, is that if we are fair, the blockchains are not ready to address the needs of the world economy. I'll give you an extremely simple example. Imagine anybody in the world getting their salary, their monthly salary, with a blockchain payment. Basically, the capacity of the networks in terms of transactions per second wouldn't be enough to address even this very basic need. Like, we're not talking about spending, but just getting once in a month payment, right? So in order for blockchains to be relevant to meet this cyberpunk vision of everybody owning their, being self-sovereign, owning your own crypto, and so on and so forth, we need to address this throughput limitation. And that's the other major breakthrough of our design. And I think we are on the forefront of ZK architectures. And our network is designed even in a way to basically compete with the most powerful centralized systems for transaction management, like systems that tech giants like Google are building, such as their spanner system, which is a database sort of engine which spans multiple continents and allows information to be adequately synchronized along these instances running on different continents. And you could think about Blocksense as something that has similarly powerful architecture and has similar data processing throughput, So basically, any sort of application that you can build at Google scale today, you can potentially build with Blocksense in the future. And I think that's very exciting.
This is an
Thank you, Zachary.
point. I just pick up on that, Martin, because maybe this is probably what's most new for people in the community hearing about this, that have kind of seen us in the light of Oracle, primarily a DeFi Oracle until now. And the reality is that what Zachary just laid out is kind of always the master plan. We just hadn't published the Litepaper yet. And the Litepaper clarifies a lot of how also the Oracle, essentially GTM, right, strategy fits into this wider vision of essentially an architecture for autonomous services, for the autonomous economy. And to be fair, Oracle is also a very loaded term, because when someone thinks of an Oracle, they 9 times out of 10 think of price feeds, right? And really, the inception of the term Oracle in the early days of Ethereum, this was a much broader, more general term that essentially encompasses everything. That encompasses a system that brings anything from the off-chain world on-chain. And so that goes way beyond price feeds. It just so happens that price feeds are kind of one of the main applications of oracles today. But because of the limitations that Hari is just outlining in terms of both kind of like the throughput and the permissionlessness and verifiability of those services and the centralized setup that oracles have kind of taken as a form, because of both of those limitations, the wider, like more general applications of oracles have struggled to become like viable. And so this is where, I think it's important to recognize that a lot of the use cases that we're talking about here, about enabling, are things that are not widespread on chain today. And that's what we're trying to achieve. Like that is our mission to achieve, is essentially breaking down this barrier of like what's possible in the Web 2 world and what's possible in the Web 3 world, which, the latter of which so far has been constrained to specific use cases that deal in the that are like possible within the constraints of blockchains today. So just want to add that point.
Thanks, Magnus. I think thank you both for this context, just so we get everyone on the same page. Now I think we can jump into the community questions. So the first one I have here is, in the Litepaper, you mentioned the transition from POA to full ZK consensus with DAO and Treasury. How will early community contributions be recognized at TGE? And that's obviously a very important question for the community.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that. I think like all projects, there's percentages of the network that are allocated to different players and actors who support the network in different ways, right? There's, the kind of operators, there's the early backers, and there's the community, of course. And so it's not really, we can't really like spill all the beans of what's planned there. Also for kind of legal reasons, but the intention of having those allocations is that we are able to reward those people who are along for the ride with us, and especially those who kind of believed in us at the early stages of the journey when it was harder probably to believe, right? I had the conviction that kind of helped us to help us grow. So I think that like everyone in Blocksense views that as a very important piece. We obviously like put a lot of attention and care into the community because we see you guys as like a real like driver of our growth, and help us to kind of be seen and to gain recognition. So. Not to mention kind of trying things out, developing stuff, like kind of playing with the technology, like all of this, like the feedback, it's all very welcomed and valuable to us. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question. But essentially, the role that the community plays in Blocksense's story is an important role, and we want to reward accordingly.
Thanks, Magnus. Now, the second question is, how does moving from POA, so back to POA again, to token stake POS affect scalability, governance, and economic security? I know this is a bit of a broad question. Which one of you guys would want to take this one?
I guess I can take this one. Well, of course, in a POA network, the security is based entirely on trust. And right now, the reality is that most of the kind of Oracle operators operate on reputation. That's what I want to say. So security is based on reputation. When you introduce a proof of stake component, now there is additional skin in the game, right? It's no longer just reputation, but also some kind of money at stake that can be lost in the case somebody acts maliciously. And the Blocksense network is designed in a way that it is able to leverage both the reputation as a source of we derive security from the fact that the users of data can designate who are the operators that they trust. So we'll still have this kind of large-scale operators who are important players in the whole blockchain industry, and they act as guardians of the network. But then there is also stakers who enter the system with their own money and provide additional layer of security. And finally, something that is very unique to our network is that in case the network is under attack, we can basically summon additional capital to protect the network through our future key based mechanism. All this is a bit kind of long to explain, but the Litepaper is going into a great detail and explaining how these mechanisms work. But ultimately, the kind of crypto economic security of the network, we make explain why why this is the case, but it could be argued that the entire liquid capital in the world is protecting all the information that is published by the Blocksense network. Basically, if somebody tries to manipulate the data, they will have to overcome the entire public liquid capital in the world.
Yeah, I like this pitch. I like this proposition and the design. I think we've had some conversations with really smart technical folks, investors in the space, and I know this is a point they really appreciate. So one of the things that we've seen also the community do is they would bring some projects to us, specifically projects that may need custom scripts, perhaps bringing on-price data on chain. So if you were to design a custom Oracle script, for example, real-time weather data, what innovative or new features does this support, and what dApps can it power?
Well, the key here is that we provide the ultimate flexibility. And when you design Oracle scripts for the Blocksense network, you are basically doing exactly the same as developing smart contracts. You have a programming language that you can use, an SDK with kind of rich functionality. So your kind of weather data Oracle script is likely to kind of consume multiple data sources. It can do advanced stuff such as processing satellite imagery with kind of GPU accelerated algorithms. We provide a lot of flexibility for the developers to kind of build exactly the kind of data processing pipeline that they have in mind.
So now that we have this custom script and the script can power these dApps, how will Blocksense ensure integrity and prevent manipulation in off-chain feeds? And how are validators incentivized?
Well, I mean, the key to create a secure Oracle script is to leverage multiple independent data sources from the real world. Now, we make a strong argument that you cannot fake the result of the Oracle script running within our network. But the script itself can depend on some internet data source which can basically go rogue and provide invalid or malicious data. And the way to protect against something like this is that you would use multiple independent data sources, and you would use algorithms such as outlier filtering. Basically, one of the sources is claiming something wildly different from the others. You would just kind of discard this source. You ignore it. You also do anomaly detection algorithms. For example, you may have some kind of weather model which rules out kind of wildly very quick changes, say, to the humidity or the temperature and so on and so forth. So that realistically models the real world. And if you detect an anomaly, you can say, okay, something is potentially happening here. Like I will postpone publishing updates until kind of the situation is resolved. So again, because you get to program how the data processing pipelines behave and operate, you can use these kind of sophisticated algorithms which are tailored for each and every use case.
Thanks, Zachary. What I just did actually in the chat is I shared the Litepaper link. So it's blocksense.network/resources/Litepaper. The other reason why I'm sharing it is you're going to actually see a roadmap section on there as well. And so this is what we'll jump into next, which is the roadmap. We've got testnet milestones, mainnet launch and ABS integration, Q1 2026 expansion, so multi-chain integration, as well as strategic ecosystem partnerships. So, Magnus, can you give us a high-level overview of the roadmap before we jump into questions? Again, in case anyone hasn't jumped into the roadmap ahead of the call.
Yeah, I mean, so I also want to be clear with the roadmap. Like, some of what is detailed in the Litepaper is kind of the state of the art, cutting edge or slightly beyond the cutting edge of what's being done today. Specifically in the way that these components are being put together, it's never been done before, and so I want to give the caution that like the roadmap is sort of our best guess now as to kind of the timelines that we will need to implement various things. But those things can change because there's some R&D involved here. Like this is a very complex system to build, and yeah, I think sometimes roadmaps can you can be held to a deadline that was based on incomplete information, because the information is always incomplete before you start building some things. So yeah, that's why some of the timelines in the roadmap are intentionally given with sort of let's say not medical grade precision. But to give the broad strokes of the roadmap, essentially where we are today, we have proof of authority network. We have the ADFS, which is our mechanism for publishing basically in a batched way on chain in a very efficient way. We have integrations with over 70 EVM networks. We are working with protocols from mainnet integrations on several different EVMs. We just went live on Somnia mainnet yesterday. It's the most recent one, and their mainnet launched 2 days ago. So we're the first oracle providing the SOMI to USD, the native token to USD feed on Somnia, and we already have a protocol, which is the main lending protocol there, who are integrating it on mainnet. So things are moving at pace in the kind of proof of authority version of the network. To go back to the roadmap, like the next phase, the next major milestone is going to be the ABS integration, which will allow us to decentralize out the operator set. Even before that, we will be decentralizing the operator set slightly with some initially chosen node operators, some of whom are strategic investors from the previous round. But the ABS integration will allow us to bring in more stake into the network, essentially, and more diversity of operators. Moving forward in 2026, next year, we'll be building out the testnet of the network that is driven by the ZK Shilling Coin consensus that Zachary outlined at the beginning. And following successful testnet, rolling out mainnet, and TGE. Again, I don't want to give like very strict deadlines on the TGE because some of that's even not in the project's hands to determine. Centralized exchanges operate on their own schedules, and so it's something of a fool's game to give like a specific timeline. But our kind of best guess for that right now is towards the end of next year. And so along the way, we're working on some quite interesting new use cases. And so I want to say keep your eyes peeled for some announcements around application that we're building that tests out our verifiable AI capabilities of the network. And so that's something that we're also working on currently, that we're looking to release this year, and that's going to be a kind of phased release. But the first part of that release is some open source tooling for working with AI agents that I think is going to be really interesting to anyone who's kind of experimenting with kind of the latest agentic tools like Claude Code and Codex. We've got a really interesting, I think, compelling product that's in development. It's an application now, like not the infrastructure, but the application layer. And it's something that we're working on kind of adopting internally, and I want to share with everyone soon. So yeah, that's a little sneak preview. Like keep your eyes peeled for that announcement. I think it's going to be quite interesting for you guys. Yeah, I wasn't sure if Martin was sitting very still or frozen. It looks like he dropped. Can you guys still hear us okay? Give us a yay or nay. Yes, all right. I can hear HGUA and I can't hear anything.
All right. I will try to invite Stella on stage, maybe.
Need to invite Martin again. Is Martin back?
Okay, I did invite both Martin and Stella.
Right.
Okay.
Hey guys, can you hear me now?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay. I tried to reconnect and I could see the chat, but I couldn't hear you guys. So sorry about that. Okay. So I imagine you guys didn't kick off the community questions here in the roadmap section, did you?
Nope, we didn't yet.
Okay. Perfect. So we've been live on 70 networks now. So what's the next major milestone, Magnus?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, the mainnet deployments, we're working on getting grants from some of the biggest chains that are going to mainnet this month and next month. The best place to stay up to date on how that's going is our Twitter. We'll be kind of hosting the announcements as they come. But like I said, so the in tandem, the application around verifiable inference. So I mean, you might ask, like, kind of why are we dipping our toes in AI? And I mean, you look at how AI is transforming pretty much every element of software. It's quite shocking. So 10% of the world's population uses ChatGPT weekly. Right? This is an application that went live like 3 years ago, less than 3 years ago. Nothing has ever like grown at that kind of speed. It's outpaced the internet, and we're seeing we internally at Blocksense we're shifting our engineering culture to be AI first. We've seen kind of firsthand the productivity boost that comes from working with agents. Essentially, you have a further kind of like set of employees or a workforce that you can now manage as an engineer. And we're really trying hard to adopt these tools, and we've also come across some hurdles in adopting those tools. They're rough around the edges, and they're not necessarily completely working as you would want them to for teams today. And as a result, we've kind of been developing some of our own tooling internally, and that's what I was alluding to. So our answer to kind of how to work with agents, how to work with agents in a coding environment, but how this kind of links back to the network. So yeah, 10% of the world is using ChatGPT weekly, and I don't know how many of them know that like their chats are never deleted. Right? ChatGPT, OpenAI, official policy now is they never delete chats. Even if you click delete, right, it doesn't do anything, by the way. That's first of all obviously like a big issue for your privacy. But then those chats can also be leaked in various ways. One way is that in the court of law, chats are readily discoverable. Another way is that for most of those users, the chats are actually being used to train the model, and they're training the model with personally identifiable information, sensitive information. And we kind of seen this story play out before, right? If you look at the big techs from the .com era that are still around today, their business essentially formed around gathering as much data on their users as possible and selling that data to third parties, and that's what Alphabet and Meta have built trillion-dollar businesses off of. And you see it in the fines that these companies get. I mean, just this week, Google was fined $400 million in a class action lawsuit that found that they were collecting user data even after the users had selected to turn off tracking, essentially tracking their every move in Google and kind of using that data for advertising. So this comes back to kind of "Don't be evil," which used to be Google's tagline, the company motto, which they kind of
Used to, yeah.
Quietly removed that from the website when the fines started kicking in. And then, there's "Don't be evil," and then there's "Can't be evil," right? And "Can't be evil" is a much more believable claim than like, "Oh, I promise, bro, I'm not going to be evil. I'm not going to be evil, bro. All my kind of economic incentives are suggesting that I should." And we see the same game play out, is what I'm trying to say, with AI. And so the major foundational model makers have an extremely high incentive to collect data, because that's how their models get better, and that's how they continue to kind of succeed in the market. And it's a similar sort of conflict between companies and their users. And we have a way to kind of combat that. We have a way to provide a "Can't be evil" system that is respectful of user privacy and does not even allow the operators of the hardware to kind of view the data that users are transacting in the system. And this is where you'll see references to Blocksense OS in the Litepaper. We can go into that, and this has been a kind of a long tangent. You asked a very simple question, and I gave you a very long answer. But this is where Blocksense OS comes into play, where essentially we're able to offer LLMs, AI models from within the confines of trusted execution environments that are essentially a verifiable and private compute environment. And that in that way, we're truly kind of giving this "Can't be evil" promise. When you wrap that up with the tooling for using agents, it's where like we're very excited internally about like the possibilities that this enables, and how this kind of unlocks adoption, not just for like kind of individuals, but also companies that deal in like sensitive information. And when I say companies, like you see in the white paper, we're talking to both Web3 and Web2, right? Our system is designed to kind of break down that barrier, and so this is kind of like software that look, we're a project that is building crypto, but the products that we're building are applicable to kind of the Web2 world just as much. So that's another major milestone that's in the works, and I think everyone internally is quite excited to share more about that once it's ready.
Thanks a lot, Mag. I know I'm being conscious of time here, so I will just jump through a few of the questions here. But I think this one's interesting. Now, will Blocksense expand into data storage and programmability, like Filecoin, Walrus, BNB, Greenfield, on storage? We saw a lot of attention and a lot of heads turning with Walrus. You're seeing a lot of chains experimenting or pivoting strategy to that, even a bunch of the big players. So, what are your thoughts on that?
We believe in kind of free economy and plurality when it comes to storage. Like the Blocksense protocol will be integrated with many different storage protocols. So when kind of the data processing pipelines that I described, or more simple Oracle scripts, they need kind of temporary storage, or kind of a place where they aggregate a lot of data before they publish something on the target chain. We will provide many different options to choose from. And these options, they can come with kind of different retention policies, different replication policies, different data availability policies, and so on and so forth. Again, the kind of flexibility of the Blocksense network is what allows kind of these different mechanisms and services to be kind of seamlessly integrated.
Thanks, Zachary. I want to jump into pivot toward AI and verifiable compute. So, with the project's recent focus shift towards AI, how will verifiable AI be integrated into Blocksense services? That was a great question we picked up from the community.
All right.
Who's going to pick this one up?
I guess I can pick this one. Well, verifiable AI, it is interested in several different contexts. Magnus alluded to earlier, and we believe that a lot of the customers of the Blocksense network would be actually kind of traditional businesses or kind of users who are not even realizing that they're dealing with a blockchain. Like that's, we have this notion of the invisible blockchain. Like we want to create something that would allow the kind of application builders, the app developers, to create products for end users where kind of the blockchain fades into the background. It's something under the hood that the end user doesn't even have to know about. So verifiable AI inference would be provided by the operators in the Blocksense network, and some of the customers would be using an off-chain API. They will be making requests to generate, say, the output of a particular AOM, and this output will be signed in such a way that we can verify that the operator who produced the result is held accountable for the accuracy of the data. Like if they try to cheat and say serve a cheaper model or something like this, they can be slashed from the stake they have in the Blocksense network. So a lot of the verified inference would be kind of this sort of off-chain traditional inference APIs. For on-chain use cases, we are excited. We are waiting for the kind of QR app that would make a very compelling kind of product out of autonomous AI agents performing actions on chain. And when you have an agent making decisions on chain, it's very crucial for to have kind of high level of certainty, high level of security that these agent decisions are authentic, that nobody would have manipulated them. I can give you kind of simple examples. For example, imagine a prediction market which is settled by an AI agent instead of kind of human voting. Like in the last year alone, there were so many cases in the UMA protocol where kind of some whale manipulated a market, and there's a lot of people who got burned from kind of situations like this. But imagine if a neutral AI agent is setting the market based on kind of analysis of published kind of news reports or even video analysis. You can go out here. A system like this would be arguably completely neutral because, okay, the agent may make a mistake, but kind of nobody can manipulate the agent. The output of the agent would be kind of what you settle the market. So we are excited about potential AI applications like this. And the Blocksense network is one of the few networks where you can have an autonomous smart contract, something that is not externally triggered by user transactions, but is kind of self-triggered by things like timers or reacts to events and so on and so forth. So you can you can really do some of these kind of crazy stories, like a company, a DAO operated by an AI agent, and kind of making autonomous decision and kind of starting a business that nobody can kind of really control anymore.
There's also, to go back to like the prediction markets use case, which I think is very interesting in an application for on-chain AI. And today with protocols like UMA and how they're used on Polymarket, the size of the prediction market has to be large enough to kind of warrant human intervention, right? So it has to be a big enough event that there's going to be humans that will like reach consensus that this is what the result was. And that puts like a cap on a floor on like things that can be bet on in prediction markets. But when you have AIs resolving the prediction markets autonomously, then you potentially the sky's the limit for things that can go into prediction markets, and much smaller, much more time bound activities. Like for just a silly example, like you're having a LAN party. And you're playing Counter-Strike, like you could probably spin up a prediction market of like who's going to win that, that match and bet with your friends, right? Like it kind of opens up the floor of things that can be put on chain in prediction markets. Obviously, within reason that the agents have to be at a stage where they can reliably arbitrate on these things. But I think that's just a kind of illustrative example of, like Zachary said, we're waiting for the killer application on chain. But you can imagine, as these systems get more stable and reliable, there's a lot of use cases that are not possible today that are made possible by it.
Thanks, Magnus. No, that's a great point, and a good point on a LAN party. I know you're in town just for 3 days, but next time we need to schedule this in the calendar.
I know you have two on the other screen there. I know you. Yeah.
Computer's over there. You can see the terrorist is waiting.
Terrorist is fine.
So, another question that we had here under strategic direction and going beyond oracles, going into AI, was ZK. By the way, fun fact, if none of you guys knew, Zachary's surname starts with a K. So ZK, but ZK is the technology, not ZK is the person. Will ZK remain a core part of the architecture going forward in the context of this AI adaptation?
Well, definitely. I mean, the Blocksense network is pushing, as I said, the state of the art when it comes to how ZK rollups are organized and proven. For us, our roadmap is very flexible. Like we see a lot of kind of internal urgency to ship some of the products that are possible with Blocksense as a platform. Now, a lot of these products, they don't kind of depend on the ZK implementation. So we are always kind of thinking of ways, okay, how can we get the benefits of the platform in the hands of the developers as soon as possible, under the premise that we will eventually deliver kind of full ZK architecture as well. What I'm saying is that we are really focused on creating value, and the ZK architecture is a way for us to ensure this long-term vision of breaking the throughput barriers and so on and so forth. But there's so much more to Blocksense, and we have to balance this.
Thank you, Zachary. That's a great answer. Now, the most important section, last but not least, like they say, ecosystem and community. So there's a couple of different points there: community involvement opportunities, the long-term vision for the DAO governance, as well as kind of clarifying the plans on community engagement in general. So I'll start with a specific question, and then Magnus, I'll open up more broadly for you to chat a bit more about community involvement opportunities. Will there be more NFTs like Pirate Flag NFT, and what utility would they have? That was a question that was asked in the community, and I'm sure folks want answers.
There's no plan for another NFT at this stage. So, like I said earlier, we're looking for ways to, always looking for ways to involve the community and reward early contributors. But at this stage, we're not planning to have another NFT campaign.
Oh, I mean, in the short term, of course.
Right. It could happen longer term, but I don't want to say that this is going to happen and then we're silent on it for many months. So
what are ways that the community can get involved that are the most impactful right now? Testnets, partnerships, feedback. Tell us.
Yeah. Like I hinted at earlier, there's one really important way that's going to be coming up that's related to the AI agents. And you'll be hearing from us. Don't worry. Once that's coming out, but I know that some of you guys are vibe coders, and I've been seeing some of the results of vibe coding in the community chat as well. That's really nice to see, like, some of the contributions that community members have recently been making. And the the product that we're working on that Zachary was also talking about earlier is related to this. So I think getting feedback from the community, getting you guys to try the product out, and kind of spread it, share it with your friends. That's going to be the number one thing, in the immediate term. But otherwise, all the things that you already do, right? Like engaging with us on social media, challenging us, asking good questions, forcing us to think about what the answers to some of those questions are, joining these forums and talking to us. This is all really helpful.
And what about an ambassador program? I know, there's been people bringing this up as a question as well.
Yep. So no plans for an ambassador program at this time, but we'll let you guys know if that changes.
Noted. These are the questions I had collected here, which it's beautiful because I know I skipped one question earlier on, but I think we're good with time. I would be happy to take more questions here for the next 5 minutes. One other thing that I want to encourage you guys to do is, if you have other questions, you can leverage the community here, or you could literally reach out to us directly as well. There you go, Rachio stepping in the chat. Pirates. Yeah, actually, I've met a lot of projects in the space. I've met a lot of teams. I just want to say that the work that the Pirates are doing and that Rahil is doing is just phenomenal. I need to shout out to you guys because I'm seeing things on the inside at lots of different projects at different stages. It's just part of traveling, connecting with people, helping out some Arbitrum ecosystem projects now informally, and the Pirates are killing it. And Raquel, I think you've built up a system and a program that speaks volumes to your achievements with the Blocksense team. So it's phenomenal. So just good job, guys. It's really exciting to see what you're doing and how far you've taken things. This is a rapidly evolving space. There's a lot of really smart people. It's very competitive, but you guys are making strides here. So wanted to give you this shout out. So we have a few more minutes. Murd is saying, can you ask them about reporter node? Murd, do you want to be a bit more specific with your question? And you have Zachary and Magnus here to answer. So if you're a bit more specific, the floor is going to be yours for them to answer here.
I mean, I can answer a little bit. Like, the reporter node of Blocksense is in development. As Magnus said earlier, initially we work with several kind of carefully chosen partners to run the reporter node. But over time, we will, as we become an ABS, this would be the opportunity to be open for kind of more participants. And eventually, at some point, of course, our vision is to make it possible for anybody to run a reporter node in the kind of fully decentralized network.
Thanks for that, Zachary. Someone's saying, okay, we got Rahil. Is stepping into the CEO role tiring, Magnus? And what is it like to work with pirates?
No, I mean, it's is it tiring? Yeah, I mean, well, like I'm sure being Rahil is tiring. Rahil doesn't sleep after all. I still sleep, so probably your job is more tiring, Rahil. But no, jokes aside, it's cool. Like honestly, we're like a relatively flat organization anyway, so this is not like becoming CEO of Walmart or something, and now suddenly you got a separate office and you got a PA, and you know your inbox is 1,000 a day. Like it's just kind of a slight reshuffling of responsibilities, but ultimately like we're all pretty close. Like we all know each other well, and I think Blocksense sometimes like it doesn't feel that much like a corporate or a company, and so in that sense. Yeah, just like taking on different hats and different jobs at the end of the day. What's it like to work with pirates? I mean, I think I've always thought it's cooler to be a pirate than marine. And that's like the genesis of our community name, right? Like depends. If you want to be a marine, that's cool too. But I think the people who are here are kind of I said it in an earlier community call, like pirates serve an important purpose, have served an important purpose in history. And, the early adventurers in the colonial time of Britain they were called buccaneers, but what they were was pirates, and they kind of established new trading outposts and land, and that's what we're doing, right? We're trying to we're looking for the new opportunities, and there's a hegemon in town, and they're sucking up a lot of the oxygen in the space, and quite honestly, being a gatekeeper, and that's the purpose of pirates, right? We get rid of the gatekeeper and we create a new system. So I think that's cool.
I love that. I love that story. If any of you guys don't know, actually go check out Magnus's profile on Twitter. No escrow. It's still no escrow, right?
Yeah. OX no escrow.
Do you want to tell people what's the story of that handle as I share the link?
Story. All right. Yeah, I guess.
This meeting is recorded, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it's okay for you to share this story.
It's fine. Yeah. Well, when I first learned about crypto, I was still a student at university. It was 2011, actually, kind of early, and I was really excited by this prospect of digital money that was kind of had this anarchic bent outside of government control, and just want to get my hands on some of it. And so, actually, funnily enough, back then, escrow systems were not sophisticated as they are today, and kind of getting your crypto was somewhat fraught of an activity. A lot of things could go wrong, but the way that I ended up getting my hands on my first Bitcoin in 2011 was I put some cash, some pound sterling, in an envelope without a return address, and sent it by snail mail to an unknown person, and from there, I was kind of refreshing my Bitcoin wallet every day. Has it arrived yet? Did I get scammed? All right, I probably got scammed. So day 5, I was like, I definitely got scammed. Such an idiot. I don't have money to spend anyway. Why did I do this? And then I think it was day 6.
Such a curious man.
The Bitcoin actually landed in my wallet, so that's why I'm no escrow.
I love that story. It's an amazing kind of name origin story, handle origin story. Okay, we're just over time here. I appreciate you guys so much. I see you got a bunch of people. It was great catching up with you guys in the chat as well as the guys were going through the questions. As usual, the next community call is going to be at the end of the month. And I appreciate your guys' time and support. It means a lot and it makes all of this so much more fun and worthwhile. Thank you, Magnus and Zachary, for the time as well. And I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, guys, for joining. Good to chat. See you next time.